All right. Obviously, first off, I want to say thank you to the fire department. Everybody responded last night. I was literally in my office. I was watching some special teams cut-ups. My wife texted me and said, hey, there's an address that says there's a fire. It's kind of close to the stadium. And I look out my window. I had all the shades. And I said, there ain't nothing going on here. I don't know what you're talking about. And then, like, literally a minute later, Mark Orsani, our chief of staff, comes running in. And as that, Josh has called me. Josh was in Indy for some NCAA meetings, and I'm like, what's going on? I look out and I saw those fire trucks. So thank you to everybody that responded to that last night. I think it was just one vehicle that caught on fire, but it was amongst a bunch of others underneath the stadium. So everything's good to go. Everything will happen on Friday. Thought we've had a good week of practice. Just finished up out in the stadium. From an injury standpoint, I think Zai is going to be questionable whether he gets out there. Reggie practiced again today. That's 2 days in a row for him, so everything should be full go there. Defensively, should be 100% on that. Did have Jaheim Clark unfortunately tweaked his groin a little bit this week, so that's somebody from the game that may be questionable for the game time decision. But other than that, a couple other guys that are banged up, but I think they're going to be able to make a go of it. So with that, open up for questions.
Bret, what's your first thought when you realize the stadium's on fire?
I didn't have a thought, right? Like I literally got the text from my wife, and I hung up with that, didn't know what was going on, and then I was kind of back into the thick of it, and I turned around and I got a picture. The first thing I saw before, I saw fire trucks, but I didn't see any flames, but I saw a picture of where it was at, and I kind of had a better feeling because it was in this area where they keep vehicles. So yes, it's a stadium, it's under the end zone, but it's really not the stadium.
Did you walk down there?
No.
Did you check it out?
No. Before it even happened, they said it was out. I mean, literally I got it, and then 2 minutes later they said it was out.
You mentioned Zai. How's Josh Geske doing?
Josh, same deal. He's questionable, although he had a really good day yesterday and a really good day today, so got a very good chance of that happening. But on the offensive line, Brandon Henderson has had a good week of practice, really like where he's at. Obviously, Jordan Slaughter will be able to play guard as well. And then Hunter Whiteneck, we kind of been splitting time with him, but we want to give him an opportunity to play as well as he go to at guard spot.
You mentioned Brandon. Has he done? What's he look like?
Yeah, he's really been backing up. What we try to do is we had him kind of playing everything if you go back to spring. And then really when we got into fall camp, and especially when we moved Isaiah over to right tackle, I wanted to get Hunter reps more at guard. And I said, hey, let's concentrate Brennan and Mountis at those two tackle spots. Let them get a lot of reps. We need to get somebody in case of emergency situation at tackle because it started the year with Isaiah being our third tackle, right? And then when he became our starter, we needed someone to be in that role. So that's kind of where we concentrated him at, but this week he's been working strictly at guard.
Last week he leaned quite a bit on Josh in the early portion of the game running back without Reggie. With Reggie back, what does that do for your option-wise?
Well, I think Reggie, but also, number 3 and number 21 have earned the right. So I think anytime you are in that situation, like obviously I think Reg would start the game, but depending on where Josh is at and where Caden Fagan and Aiden, where we are in the game, how we're subbing them in, I think you can probably see all 4 of those guys.
So, you mentioned the 12-8, 4-4 split. Is that the same split, just maybe different guys?
12-8, 4-4.
With the number of carries, like you mentioned.
12-8, 4. That was like 3 weeks ago, going into that game against FAU, I think, right? Like, don't look, that's every game we have a pitch count that we kind of win at. I think it's the second or third time you get. That was for that game,
just
that game only. And kind of that's the way it played out. That's why I kind of brought it up to the media, but every game has a different feel, different game plan, different thought. I don't think that applies to every game as we go forward.
And you had talked on Saturday about being more involved in establishing that offensive identity. What does that look like just this week with you and the offense?
I like it. Had a very good conversation with the offense, defense, special teams on Sunday. More detailed Sunday night. Monday, have a lot of time because we didn't, obviously we had a practice Monday night, but it wasn't a real practice. I think Barry has a really good conception of what he wants it to be and how he wants to get it done, and it's been very clear to me from that point forward. So excited to get to Friday.
How have you seen the team respond this week in practice to
Awesome.
adversity?
Really good.
Yeah. Is there any areas that you were concerned about that going in?
No, I think our roster, where we're at, we're 3 years into it. I keep a daily journal, right? And, I've been on this job now over 1,000 days, right? Like, and I know what we've accomplished during that time. What I want them to do is know what they've accomplished, right? And no matter what we were, 3-2, 2-3, 4-5-0, or 0-5, like it doesn't change the time. It doesn't change the past. The things that we thought they were going into the season are there. We got to adapt to what we have on the field and what we've seen, but I really like where we're at. And these kids are good kids. They love to compete. They're disappointed. They live it every day, and I think you'll see good results.
Coach, you're facing a really run-heavy offense. How much?
Nebraska.
How much is the prep different this week than it was last
You know,
week?
Nebraska's kind of a little bit different in every game. You know, started off that first game against Minnesota. Obviously played at Colorado, and then they kind of had some transition at the quarterback position as well, you know, the last couple of weeks. So their offense has been a little bit of a moving target. They want to run the ball. It's been easy. I hear Matt say it all the time that their offensive identity is they're going to run the ball. They do it in a variety of different ways. They do it with running backs, quarterbacks, and wide receivers. You know, so I think they've kind of been a moving target through 5 games, and we'll see where we defend them on Saturday or on Friday.
But I know in the past you talked about when Caden touches the ball, your players get really excited.
Yeah.
Isaiah Adams kind of backed that up.
Yeah.
Like, what has he done for a true freshman to come in and maybe have that belief?
You know, I think it was a slow start just because, you know, he was actually a little bit banged up when he came in. We had to go through. He had just come off of surgery. He was getting himself healthy. I don't think we even started spring ball. He was 100% cleared yet. So it's kind of been a work in progress. So he did go in the spring, and there were flashes of it. But I think this fall, when he got the whole summer to train in his body, you know, even today, we had 7 NFL scouts there today, right? And he came rolling by, and a couple of them asked, like, who's that, right? And, I mean, he just physically has a presence to him that is very impressive. I think that play, you know, Sunday I showed the end of half series where we took it down the field and, you know, executed an end of half series as good as we've ever had since we've been here, right? Get points at the end of the half was a really big deal. And he burst through a little A-gap hole that, you know, is kind of a small hole, and all of a sudden his big body ran through it and gets in the open field. He's an exciting player and somebody I think he can build upon.
Did you talk to the team about the fire at all?
No.
You can say anything to
No,
them?
I think from the outside world, but our guys, we literally said, I think we sent out a message last night that it was contained within minutes, and it wasn't in the stadium. Everybody kept saying the stadium because that's the address, but it wasn't in the stadium.
What's the balance for you guys for dialing up more pressure defensively, but also understanding you have not a new secondary,
Yeah.
but it's just not.
Well, I think we got to play to our strengths. Obviously, a couple guys up front, Johnny and Keith, have continued to play extremely well. Denzel Daxon has been a guy. Dylan Rosiak, I'd like our outside linebackers to show up, you know, and play at a high level. I think our back end has played well at times, but, you know, penalties, mental errors, and turnovers are what beat us, right? And on offense and on defense, we've made them very much aware of the reason that we're in is because we're really lacking in those 3 major areas, right? And that has nothing to do with the call. It has nothing to do with scheme. It has to do with how you execute it, right? And I think our guys have taken onus in that. As coaches, we've definitely been preaching on it. And, you know, I think Taz, you know, he's had a number of defensive holds, right? And we've kind of made him aware of that, where it's at. I think from a mental error standpoint, we got to make sure that we lock into what the call is, how it may adjust, and play every snap for what it is.
You mentioned outside linebackers. I don't know, are you seeing just maybe something different or missing from maybe a year ago when they were getting more pressures?
I think if you just look at our defense overall, we just haven't been able to generate the pressures. I don't think it's outside linebacker driven. I don't think it's inside linebacker driven. I think it's product driven, right? And, you know, I think the biggest thing that we haven't been able to do is put our guys in a position to be more predictable or for us to be able to go out on the field on 3rd down and some of this get back on tracks. We were really early down pressure generated. If you want to dive into the numbers, we had a lot of early down pressures, a lot of sacks came out of non-3rd down situations, and we haven't been able to get that this year.
Aaron Henry talked a lot about the missed tackles. What can you do as a coach in practice to facilitate that improvement?
Yep.
Do you do more live tackling?
No, we can't do live tackling in season, really. You know, there's obviously certain things you do. Like every drill, every cadence for where we are today is just basically similar to what we did a year ago. Did very, very few open field tackles. We actually had more scrimmage time this year than we did a year ago. I think those things like tackling, drop passes, things that kind of ebb and flow in the course of the game. Sometimes you get on a really good streak. Sometimes you get on the bad end of those, and that's kind of tackling. We hadn't really been an issue, but it was an issue on Saturday, and I reared its ugly head, and we got to correct it.
Thanks for your inside backers. I mean, 2 weeks ago, some more committed than Saturday. The James Cruz made in that 3rd down package. Have they just kind of forced your hand just what they've done in practice to get out there more?
Well, I think Tariq and Dylan Rosiak are probably our 2 best inside linebackers. The combination of those guys has been the most steady. James got in there, got a sack. I don't know if you saw that. Like he's continued to kind of add in there a little bit. Early downs have not been a big part of James's package, but Kanena, Tariq, and Dylan, if you take those 3 guys and just do a deep dive into what our players are doing on 1st, 2nd, a little bit of 3rd down, those are 3 guys. They've been pretty much even the whole year.
post game last week, you said need to be less predictable on early downs on offense. Are you referring to pass run or something more specific?
No, I think what we're looking at offensively is we put ourselves in a position that we had a lot of failure on third down. I think because early downs we didn't have success. We had some negative yard plays. I think when the final tally of our third down conversions, I want to say half of them were 3rd and 10 plus or 3rd and 9 plus, and that's obviously not a great stat for you.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, Coach.